Hey, so still working on that list of bad reasons why some people don't file for a Social Security disability when they should and they could. Um, so I'm looking at the article at number 6. This is that article. We've been going through these somewhat in order, and then I kind of popped out of order when someone contacted me and said, "Hey, you forgot a reason," and then there was actually 2 reasons. So this could always go out of order. But anyway, this is number 6. So I think we have 1 through 5, maybe 1 through 5, 10, and 11. So now, but jumping back to 6. And again, this came from an article that I drafted for my local paper here. I do some Social Security columning for them. All right, so let's get to it. Number 6. And this happens a lot. I can't file because I'm still working part-time. And of course, they're saying I can't stop working part-time, even though I'd like to work more. I can't, but I have to work part-time because I need to pay bills. And of course, most people can't pay all their bills when working part-time unless they have maybe a partner, a spouse, or close other friend or loved one. So that is a really bad reason. Generally, now I say generally because if you are working under SGA, you absolutely can file, and absolutely, I think you should. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't. So if you have a different reason, let me know. If it's under SGA, and if you're following along with a lot of the videos, SGA in 2023 right now is $1,470 a month. In 2024, we recently got the news, and I did a little video on it, that the new amount would be $1,550 per month. Now that is gross before taxes, before any of those deductions. But you can earn, technically, without being barred by the mere fact that you're earning, something less than those amounts. So, $1,469 and you'd be in. But if you hit the 1470, now that is considered SGA, substantial gainful activity, and you can't generally file and have the application processed all the way through, because the first step of the sequential evaluation process is the claimant working SGA. Now, I'll get back to when you're underneath that. But if you are over SGA by a little bit, you're looking now and going, "Oh man, I'm making like 1,500, but I didn't know." I mean, obviously it might be easy to just drop down, maybe budget that someplace else. But also, if you cannot, or you want to actually have the past months when you did work 1,500 at a 1470 SGA time period, if you have impairment related work expenses, and there's a video on that, you can use the cost of those each month, and sometimes a prorated cost of periodic big expenses that are impairment related work expenses, and subtract them from your monthly income. And it might bring it below SGA, and then you will not have been working SGA, and you can actually claim to be disabled in the past. So we can make an onset allegation of 6 months ago, if that's when you got down to the 1,500, but you have the impairment related work expenses that would pop you under the SGA. So we could use a retroactive onset date, and that's good for you in that it can potentially get you bigger back benefits. But again, part-time work, if it's under SGA, so if it's under that 1470, you can file ASAP. You don't have to wait. Don't confuse SGA, substantial gainful activity amount, with TWP, trial work period amount. They are quite different. In fact, the TWP amount for 2023 was much lower, and always is, at $1,050 a month. You don't have to be working under TWP. You have to be working under SGA for the purpose of applying. TWP entails a whole different other aspect of SSD. And it's really important, but it's not a matter of will you win, or will you be barred from the amount you're working. TWP amount is never a bar. Okay. It's used for something different, very important, but something different. So if you are working under SGA, I really, or you think it can be reduced by IRWEs, impairment-related work expenses, you need to consider filing. If you have serious impairments, and those are what are preventing you from working more. If you're working part-time because you're raising a child and you want to be home to do all that extra stuff with your child, which is wonderful. So you're maybe only working when they're in school. That's not going to cut it unless you could still not otherwise work more because of the impairments. So while it's okay that you have kids and you're working part-time and you do care for them to whatever degree you can, as long as you are medically unable to work full-time at virtually any occupation out there that exists in substantial numbers, full-time and month after month after month, not just if you could pull it off and suffer for a month, but then you couldn't. If you think that you could not do it for over 5 months, certainly over 6, but over 5, then you might really be disabled. And the part-time work you're doing is not going to be a bar. Okay. There are some other exceptions where working is not a bar, even if it's not necessarily part-time or if it's over SGA, and that's called sheltered work. That is a little more, you need a lot more proofs to show that something is, something is sheltered. Usually it's information from the employer that they're actually paying you this rate, kind of as a, I want to say Good Samaritan thing, when the work you're doing is really only valued at something far less, but they're paying you more, and it's because they're kind of subsidizing you. Sometimes it is actual official subsidization, but I think you can also potentially prove that the work is not SGA and that they are giving extra just out of the goodness of their heart, because some employers do that. It's an awesome thing. It's not too terribly common. When I see it happen, it's usually an employer who is very involved in hiring disabled people. They are very connected with the maybe the labor department agency, very well known, and they are known to accept and even embrace hiring significantly disabled people and giving them certainly major accommodations, but sometimes these subsidized pays. So those are other ways that you can be earning over SGA, but the most common is for people that are not going to be needing sheltered work or subsidized work. So I'd really be looking towards the amount of gross you're bringing in. And, different jobs can be a little trickier. And I think we have a video on that in terms of tip paying jobs versus ones that the shift changes. It's hard to sometimes stay under SGA because it's very unpredictable. Those would be more difficult, but if the shoe fits, you want to get what you can get. Since you've been paying for this insurance, you may as well use it. Yeah, it's usually just people cutting back on what they used to do to more part-time until they are under SGA, and it's stemming from progressing impairments, that make it difficult. Anyway, if that is something that you or anyone thinks they can't apply because they're working part-time, definitely have them call me. We can walk our way through it and see what they're grossing, see what may be able to be subtracted out if they're above SGA. And if they can't cut back on their hours, let's say their employer won't let them go any further to cut back even further, there are other things they could potentially do, like change jobs and stuff like that. So do not file because of part-time work, particularly if you can get help getting it under SGA. So keep that in mind. Very important. I see too many people go a few years working under SGA, not realizing they could have filed. And then when they do file, now they can't even do the part-time sometimes. And they are really now strapped for money because they were doing the part-time and getting by when they could have been doing the part-time and filing and winning by the time the part-time becomes undoable for them. For those that it does become undoable. Hopefully not for most, but anyway. All right, so that is number 6. All right, any questions? Put them below. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.